Hello, all, and welcome to the L Show, where the L in the L Show stands for leaning in, which means we will not shy away from any subject, no matter how taboo or uncomfortable it may be. Subjects like menopause, sex and libido, menopause, dry vagina, hot flashes, mental health and depression, which makes you not want to have sex, how we look and how we feel. I'm your host, Dr. Nicole Eastman, and am the owner of Rose Pharmacy and Boutique Apothecary located here in Cornelius. We are a compounding pharmacy with a focus on functional medicine and a much more natural approach to your health. And for those who are not familiar with what compounding is where your pharmacist makes medications that are formulated in a specific dose and or in a specific dosage form that is unique to you. And not all compounds or compounding facilities are alike, and quality shows in every aspect of what we do. You can find out more about us by checking us out at our Instagram and Facebook at Rose Pharmacy and Boutique Apothecary, or you can check us out at our website at roserxboutique.com. And the information that's presented on this show does not take the place of advice from your healthcare provider and may not be suitable for all audiences. Happy Friday to all of my viewers and listeners. I am glad that you guys are with me, and today we have back with us Miss Edie Raether, our special guest, and we'll talk with her on our next segment, but wanted to make sure you all were aware. She is so exciting, and just by the way, I've gotten numerous calls at my store wanting to know more about Edie because she's just an amazing woman. Yes, amazing woman. So you'll hear from her on the other side of the break. But again, guys, like I said, happy Friday. We have done a few segments on compounding and its importance and things of that nature, realizing that not many people know what compounding is, know what it entails, know what it takes. What it does not take, though, and I want to make sure that this is very clear for everyone who is listening, it does not take no time. I guess that's a negative. So let me say this. It takes a lot of time. So when you are getting a preparation made specifically for you, we start from scratch and we make it, and we put lots and lots of, there's calculations, there are, we figure out what bases we're going to use for you. We figure out what allergies we're trying to avoid and all of that. So a lot goes into it. So I bring this up because of time frame. That is something that people have asked me when they call and they're like, hey, I'd like to get my compounded medication refilled. And I realize, okay, they pick it up and they realize it has their name on it and they see their specific dose, but they still don't quite understand that there is a process to getting their medications to them and how we got there. So the time of a compound takes much more time than, say, you going to Walgreens or CVS or any of those places to get your medication, because we actually start your medication from scratch. So it is not surprising whenever you drop off a prescription, we may say it may take 24 to 48 hours, depending upon what the medication is. At Rose, we typically try to make sure we keep it in that 24-hour time frame if it is at all possible. If it's something that we don't have all the ingredients for, that's typically when it may take longer. But again, it is a time-consuming process. We love doing it, but we also want people to understand that it is something that just does not turnkey. And why would you want that? Why would you want that? You want something that people take time to do to get it right for you. And so that is just a thing that has come up numerous times in having conversations with people around their medications. Another question with compounding is, why does it cost more than the normal medication? Well, that is because of what I just explained, the time that's put into it, the labor that goes into it. And with compounding, we are heavily regulated. Pharmacy in general is one of the most heavily regulated industries that exists. But when we're talking about compounding, it is heavily regulated and scrutinized. And we have to do things a certain way. It's a certain amount of cleaning that's done at the beginning. There's a certain amount of cleaning that's done at the end. Garbing and all of the PPE that has to be worn and utilized when we are making compounds. So that is the reason why it may cost a little more. And I'll tell you this too, something that I just want to put out there. I've had people who said, "Hey, why, can I not use my insurance?" Well, insurance typically, and I'm going to say typically, because there may be an insurance company out there that covers some compounds. I guess that's a possibility, but very few that I am aware of, and none that I'm aware of actually that does. But again, I want to leave a little room for error. Um, when we're talking about compounding, insurance companies typically are not going to cover them because we are not talking about an FDA approved finished formulation. I want to be clear, finished formulation. We are using an FDA approved drug, okay, to make your formulation, but it is not the FDA approval comes into play when it is a finished formulation. And so, of course, that is a piece of why insurance companies will at times not cover compounds. And so it may cost someone a little more to get a compounded medication, but just know that it is worth it. I know that when we're talking about us feeling good, when we're talking about us getting back to our normals, especially my hormonal patients, you want something as tailor-made, as tailor-specific as it possibly can be, because your levels are not somebody else's levels. What you need is not what somebody else needs. What you cannot tolerate is not the same thing as what someone else can tolerate. So you need those things to be specific for you, and that is the reason why you would come to a compounding pharmacy, because we understand all of the intricacies of what you are going through and how we can help you. We are natural problem solvers. So again, the way you can utilize us is very different from the way you can utilize a typical pharmacy. Now, again, like I mentioned before, we are going to keep on talking about what compounders do, formulations and things like that on a subsequent show, but I wanted to make sure that we got that part out. Okay, so if you or your healthcare provider has been looking for a quality compounding pharmacy in the Lake Norman area, look no more. Rose Pharmacy is the place for you, where quality shows in every aspect of what we do. And if you're taking too many medications, too many supplements, or both, make sure that you take advantage of our consultation services where we can help you safely solve that issue. And question, if someone asks you, how's your gut doing? What would be your answer? Are you suffering from inflammation, chronic bowel issues, bloating, feeling sluggish, etc., etc.? Remember that everything begins and ends with a healthy gut. The effectiveness of any therapy that you may be on is linked to how well your gut is performing. And if we can improve your gut, many of the issues that you think you can do nothing about on your own can respond favorably. So take advantage of one of Rose Pharmacy's gut bundles that we can tailor specifically to your needs, because our goal is to help you get and stay on track with a much better quality of life. And with Rose, there is a guarantee of what is in each and every bottle of our supportive supplements, and very few companies can say that. Mention that you heard about Fixing Your Gut on the Elle Show or WSIC News, and we're going to give you 10% off your purchase. When we are back from break, as I mentioned, I'm here with our esteemed guest, Edie Raether. She owns Lake Norman Hypnotherapy, a coaching center. She's a change strategist, best-selling author, TEDx global keynote speaker, brain trainer, inspiration to many. She'll be back at the end of the break. See you then. Hello, all, and welcome back to the Elle Show. I'm your host, Dr. Nicole Eastman. If you or your healthcare provider has been looking for a quality compounding pharmacy in the Lake Norman area, look no more. Rose Pharmacy is the place for you, where quality shows in every aspect of what we do. And if you're taking too many medications, too many supplements, or both, make sure that you take advantage of our consultation services where we can help you safely solve that issue. Question: if someone asks you, how's your gut doing? What would be your answer? Are you suffering from inflammation, chronic bowel issues, bloating, feeling sluggish, etc., etc.? Remember that everything begins and ends with a healthy gut. The effectiveness of any therapy that you may be on is linked to how well your gut is performing. And if we can improve your gut, Many of these issues that you think you could do nothing about on your own can respond favorably. So take advantage of one of Rose Pharmacy's gut bundles that we can tailor specifically to your needs, because our goal is to help you get and stay on track with a much better quality of life. And with Rose, there's a guarantee of what is in each bottle that we offer. Very few companies can offer you that. And mention that you heard about Fixing Your Gut on the Elle Show or WSIC News, and we are going to give you 10% off of your purchase. Today, we have back on the show with us is Miss Edie Raether. Woohoo! Hey, Edie.
Always good to be here.
Yes, she is the owner of Lake Norman Hypnotherapy and Coaching Center. She is a change strategist, best-selling author, TEDx, global keynote speaker, brain trainer, dopamine diva, as we learned in our last show with her. And she is here to talk to us today. We're gonna do a little bit more, because when we were on our last show with Edie, I had to kind of cut her a little short at the end because she had so much to share with us. So I'm going to let her continue down. She was giving us some ideas of things we can do to take down that overload of the bad dopamine influx, right? Like the balance.
Right.
We're going to let her do that. And then we're going to get on to the topic of today, which is mind mastery. Okay. So everybody in their seats, get ready to go. Edie, thank you again for being here. Thank you. So Edie, like I said, the last time you were on the show, we talked about dopamine. And I'd asked you, okay, so what's some coaching that you would give to a parent? And you went through a few things, but then we had to rush through. So
and actually it fits with the mind mastery, because I'm looking at the top of the page, and this was something I shared in the TEDx talk. Action plan to upgrade your mental software. So it all fits. and one is stop being a spectator. We watch sports, throw the ball, engage in life, engage in activities, show up. And I mentioned being part of the process. When Margaret Mead, the famous anthropologist, said, if you really want to learn something, milk the cow, and then you'll learn how cheese is made. You know what I mean? And so it's just getting involved, being present. And, music is certainly a way that we can restore our balance. That's at the top of my list. And that doesn't include what you might call music. I don't include today, but we won't get on that. And then the other one is act the way you want to be, and you'll be the way you act. It's almost like fake it till you make it. And it's not like you're being a fake, but when we change our behavior, there's always going to be a resistance, because the subconscious is going to bring you back to where you were, which is why people will lose 100 pounds and they'll go back to gaining it, because without resetting that set point mentally and physically, metabolically, we go back to what we know, what's familiar, because that's what's comfortable. It's like your puppy dog liking the same little spot in the house. And part of it is just taking action. When I'm doing a keynote, it's interesting. I might wave a $50 bill and I'll say, how many of you would give me $1 for this $50 bill? And everybody raises their hand. Nobody comes up and gets it. It's like, you lose. You didn't take the action. And we're becoming too passive as a society. So I also mentioned exploiting life. If you're drinking wine, how many times people take a handful of peanuts? They don't even know what they're eating. And, we did a show on hypnosis for weight management.
We did.
And it's just, I eat one peanut at a time. I pay attention to it. And as you become more conscious of each almond that you eat, 5 of them is enough. You don't eat a whole bag. It's different. If you're taking a little bit of wine, I drink very little, but I probably experience more taste, more pleasure, more flavor, because I slow it down and I savor it. But if you're walking in the woods, savor it. Get off your phone. Notice what's happening around you, because there's some interesting things going on out there. And then the question I asked you was, what's your happy place? What is your happy place? Everybody.
Great question.
Yeah. And I
on the spot.
Yeah. And I'm in it fortunately, most of the time. And then, we talk so much about, the science of breath. It was a bestseller. Breathe. There was a book, Just Breathe. And so it is paying attention to your breathing. And as you slow down your breathing, you slow down your brainwave activity. And as you slow down your brainwave activity and you go from beta to alpha, you naturally go from a negative to a positive state. Think about it. If you go into a hot tub or you have a good massage, you slow it down. And as you slow down your breathing, you go from negative. How many people go in a hot tub and say, I'm so stressed out? No, what do you do when you get in? You go, and you let it all go. So anyway, be aware of that. And then, when we were talking about the dopamine, it's taking a tech fast, a dopamine detox. Just turn your phone off, have 2 hours, 4 hours, just breathe.
I think that's a good idea for parents, especially with their children, to give
limits.
them setting limits to help them to remove themselves.
Because they're addicted.
Yes.
You got to set boundaries, and it's interesting because if we stop using our brain, as I said in the last program, the brain is like a muscle. If you don't use it, you lose it. So there's times where go to the old-fashioned way. We use our GPS. Maybe we have to figure out directions. And maybe instead of using a calculator, it's amazing how many people can't do basic math. And then visualization, mental imagery. I'm going to save that because that's going to be a big part of the next program. So I talked about slowing it down. And then the basics, food, fitness, sleep, be present. I used the example where that woman was so into her phone and her 3-year-old was just wanting mama to pay some attention to her. Be present to who you're with. And then I talk about healthy boredom. It's and I'm neurotic.
That's interesting. That's interesting. Healthy boredom.
Yeah, it's do nothing time. I remember back, I was teaching in a college in the 70s. I remember one of the drug companies did some research and they found out that people who are more creative were disabled. And you know what they realized? If you're in a wheelchair or something, you're not running your kids to soccer games, you're doing not all of those things somebody else in the household is. And so you have more of that do nothing time. And that's the spark to the start. That's when the light bulb goes on. So we need to do that. And, and we talked about that in the last one. What are the healthy highs, besides the phone? And that certainly isn't TikTok. And that's a little scary. I mean, we look at all the Kias that are getting stolen, the vodka on campuses where somebody's dying. So the bottom line is everybody has to be challenged. That's like the air we breathe, but it's how we're challenged. Is it drinking as much vodka as you can and losing your life at a fraternity party? Or is the challenge going to the Olympics or learning how to play the piano or the harp? So we have that internal drive. It's how we challenge and how we direct it. And spirituality, I think, comes in here as well. But the one thing that I said that we had to bring in is when we were talking about dopamine, one of the things I think in all my talks, I bring up Tom Brady. And I like Tom Brady. Tom, I love you.
I love Tom Brady.
Yes.
Let's just put that out there.
And yes. This is not negative,
yes, I
Tom.
do.
But you know what? When you weren't playing as well, you weren't getting as much dopamine.
Are you talking to Tom Brady right now?
Yes,
okay.
I am. I'm
okay,
talking to you, Tom. When you were not throwing quite as well, and you eventually quit, you weren't getting as much dopamine because you weren't succeeding as you once had. So you found a different source of dopamine. It was women.
Wow. Yes.
And I always say when I'm speaking, I get a flood of dopamine because I like speaking more than sex, but I don't have anything to compare it to.
All right. So listen. So on that note, we're going to take a quick break. If you or your healthcare provider has been looking for a quality compounding pharmacy in the Lake Norman area, look no more. Rose Pharmacy is the place for you, where quality shows in every aspect of what we do. And if you're taking too many medications, too many supplements, or both, make sure you take advantage of our consultation services where we can help you safely solve that issue. And question, if someone asks you, how's your gut doing? What would be your answer? Are you suffering from inflammation, chronic bowel issues, bloating, feeling sluggish, etc., etc.? Remember that everything begins and ends with a healthy gut. The effectiveness of any therapy that you may be on is linked to how well your gut is performing. And if we can improve your gut, many of these issues that you think you can do nothing about on your own can respond favorably. So take advantage of one of Rose Pharmacy's gut bundles, and we can tailor specifically them to your needs because our goal is to help you get and stay on track with a much better quality of life. With Rose, there's a guarantee of what is in each and every bottle of the supportive supplements that we offer, and very few companies can say that. Mention you heard about Fixing Your Gut on the Elle Show or WSIC News, and we're going to give you 10% off of your purchase. We're going to be right back with Edie Raether, owner of Lake Norman Hypnotherapy and Coaching Center, on the other side of the break. See you soon. Welcome back to the Elle Show. I'm your host, Dr. Nicole Eastman. If you or your healthcare provider has been looking for a quality compounding pharmacy in the Lake Norman area, look no more. Rose Pharmacy is the place for you, where quality shows in every aspect of what we do. And if you're taking too many medications, too many supplements, or both, make sure that you take advantage of our consultation services where we can help you safely solve that issue. And a question, if someone asks you, how's your gut doing? What would be your answer? Are you suffering from inflammation, chronic bowel issues, bloating, feeling sluggish, etc., etc.? Remember that everything begins and ends with a healthy gut, and the effectiveness of any therapy that you may be on is linked to how well your gut is performing. And if we can improve your gut, many of these issues that you think you can do nothing about on your own can respond favorably. So take advantage of one of Rose Pharmacy's gut bundles that we can tailor specifically to your needs, because our goal is to help you get and stay on track with a much better quality of life. With Rose, there's a guarantee of what is in each bottle of the supportive supplements that we offer, and very few companies can say that. Mention that you heard about Fixing Your Gut on the Elle Show or WSIC News, and we're going to give you 10% off of your purchase. We are back with Edie Raether. So Edie, where we left off, love that with Tom Brady. Tom, we love you. So now, Edie,
We just don't want them to sue us.
yeah. Let's talk about mind mastery, okay? That is another area that you are very, very well equipped in. So let's define for our audience what mind mastery is, and then I want you to talk about your story, how this was applied, how it worked, and where you are today.
Nobody's ever asked how to define it, and I haven't really given that. But I look at it, and notice that I say mindset. I don't like mindset because that sounds like concrete set, that it's because this is ever evolving and it's always shifting. So I call it mind shift. So mind mastery is really optimizing the brain to accelerate performance in sales, leadership, and life, and unleash your potential. I think that's the best way. And that requires engaging the subconscious mind. You can't do it without. And I'll tell you why, because the subconscious mind is 1,000,000 times more powerful. If you want to make a change in your life and you think you're going to do it without the subconscious, you know what? It's like if you were going to dig a hole, would you take a shovel or would you take a backhoe? Well, the shovel might take more than a lifetime. And that's why people don't shift or change, because without the you're not using all your tools. The backhoe is a power tool. The shovel, okay. So I just accelerate one's success by engaging the subconscious.
So let's talk about the application to your own situation. You were telling me how. Well, I'll let you go ahead and give us the story.
Well, I have a new keynote, Unstoppable. If you can't walk, dance. Just dance. And I share my story. I did very well. I'm from Wisconsin originally. And as a therapist and international keynote speaker, a single parent, but made millions. And I came to North Carolina. I have my biggest problem is I trust. I think I grew up at a time when trusting was a little bit safer. And my kids are just about ready to divorce me, but they'll be out of the will. And there was no will at one time, but now that they know there is one there. But, so I came down here and I was promised, it's a couple of people in, the financial field, stock market. The other was real estate. So I went to the ocean here, and the guy had just gotten out of jail as a felon. He was pardoned. His daddy was a senator, the good old boys. He was pardoned from his felony. He was embezzling, taking people's premiums for insurance, whatever. I did not know any of this. So I come down there. I'm thinking I'm going to live on the big pond. I grew up on Lake Michigan. I'm going to take the ocean. And I was giving up a very healthy practice. That was scary. And so I just listened to him, and I bought 35 lots, many of them oceanfront. We're not talking about cheap lots. And I basically talk about diversifying your investments. This was not diversified. I was just giving him millions and millions, right? Because you know why? He told me he was going to sell one. I can't remember if it was every week or every month, and I would make thousands of dollars in the flip. I trusted him. Okay. And I lost 4 to 5 million. So I was in Holly Springs. I had built, it was on Home and Garden Channel. They called it a mansion. Sounds pretentious. It was a nice pad. It was pretty nice. Right. And I went from that, Nicole, to being totally homeless. I bought a cottage here on the lake, and I was losing $22,000 a month. Year after year after year.
Wow.
And I worked hard for it. None of it was given to me. It was not generational. I worked my buns off. And so anyway, I lived literally for 15 months with no flushing toilets, no running water, no wired in electricity. Wow. And I'll tell you, and I bought a little FEMA trailer. I don't like smoking smells, and it stunk. And anyway, that was for 15 months because I was not going to give up on my dream. And I want to share this with people because when I'm speaking, people find it very inspirational that you too can be unstoppable. I have a place on Lake Norman on Kaiser Island. I love it. I bought it in 3.5 seconds. I knew nothing about real estate. If I'm buying a bottle of water, no, not bad. If I'm buying strawberries or let's say a bag of oranges, I got to lift 5 bags because I'm spending $3 and I want to make sure I got the bag with that extra half an ounce because I'm spending $3. Now I'm spending over $500,000 for dirt. And this is almost 20 years ago, 24 years ago. And 3.5 seconds. But my first book's on intuition. I said, oh my God, this could work. I'm putting in an offer. I want to close by tomorrow. Talk about intuition. 3 people offered $100,000 more the next day. How did I know? I knew nothing about real estate here. I didn't know what I was doing. It's one time I trusted my gut and it was right on. And so anyway, everything went wrong. I was supposed to close, and the guy had the realtor forged my name and released my buyer. So I had no money, and it took me 15 months. But listen, I want to tell you, there's many other intricacies that are unbelievable. But I want to tell you how I bounced back, because you too can. I don't care if you're going through a divorce, bankruptcy, no matter what. You got to hold on to the dream. You got to hold on to the goal. You don't have any other options. You never say die. You never say quit. And do I have to take a break right here?
No,
yes, I can still. You let me know. And so you just have that, not only hope, because you got to realize hope, by the way, does release dopamine too. If you don't have hope, you're not going to do whatever it takes. If you don't believe that things can change, I had nothing. Not only that, my mother died and left me a couple $100,000. I think it was almost $250,000. I didn't see any of it but $3,000 for a jet ski. That's crucial. That's not a luxury. And so I must have been a couple $100,000 in debt just paying everybody back. But, and so now I'm sitting on one of the best spots on Lake Norman, and it's working. Why? Because you've got to have the belief system. It's like, what's his name? Russell Wilson, the quarterback. Now he's with the Broncos, was with Seattle. His dad always said, why not you? And you implant that belief system. Now I got to quit. I got to shut up.
We're going to be... I love you, Edie. Yes, so we're about to take a break, but you're going to keep that going when we get back. If you or your healthcare provider has been looking for a quality compounding pharmacy in the Lake Norman area, look no more. Rose Pharmacy is the place for you, where quality shows in every aspect of what we do. If you're taking too many medications, supplements, or both, make sure you take advantage of our consultation services where we can help you safely solve that issue in question. If someone asks you, how's your gut doing? What would be your answer? Are you suffering from inflammation, chronic bowel issues, bloating, feeling sluggish? Remember that everything begins and ends with a healthy gut, and the effectiveness of any therapy that you may be on is linked to how well your gut is performing. So if we can improve your gut, we can improve your entire health. So take advantage of one of Rose Pharmacy's gut bundles that we can tailor specifically to your needs, because our goal is to help you get and stay on track. We're going to be back with Edie on the other side of the break and her inspirational story.
I'm just writing the stuff that I want to focus on.
We are back with the Elle Show. I'm your host, Dr. Nicole Eastman. If you or your healthcare provider has been looking for a quality compounding pharmacy in the Lake Norman area, look no more. Rose Pharmacy is the place for you, where quality shows in every aspect of what we do. And if you're taking too many medications, supplements, or both, make sure that you take advantage of our consultation services where we can help you safely solve that issue. And if someone asks you, how's your gut doing? What's going to be your answer? Are you suffering from inflammation, chronic bowel issues, bloating, feeling sluggish, etc., etc.? Remember that everything begins and ends with a healthy gut, and the effectiveness of any therapy that you may be on is linked to how well your gut is performing. And if we can improve your gut, many of these issues that you think you can do nothing about on your own can respond favorably. So take advantage of one of Rose Pharmacy's gut bundles that we can tailor specifically to your needs, because our goal is to help you get and stay on track with a much better quality of life. And with Rose, there's a guarantee of what is in each bottle of the supportive supplements that we offer, and very few companies can say that. Mention that you heard about Fixing Your Gut on the Elle Show or WSIC News, and we're going to give you 10% off of your purchase. All right, Edie, here you go.
Okay, I'm just writing all the lessons everybody can learn. Okay, one is don't listen to others. I remember my son saying, Mom, you lost everything. You can't have what you want anymore. And I just said, you say that one more time, and you will be out of the will. And trust me, before I die, there will be a will. You know what I mean? Don't listen to others. So stay the course, stay true. My mother's mantra was, look at the bright side. Life is full of polarities. For every negative, for every bad thing that happens to you, there's a lesson to be learned. Soak it up. Grow where you are planted. When do you think I wrote my 7 books? All of my stuff was in storage. All I had was my mind and my computer. So what did I do? I put it to work, and one of them is a bestseller in China. They don't pay, but it's good on your resume. And so, you know what it is? It's always looking. I was looking out at the lake. I didn't have you know what I had for my toilet, so to speak, commode? You go to the Dollar Tree. It was only $1 then, not $1.25. I had a plastic pail, and I bought 3 because when my granddaughters came, they couldn't use the trees. So we had monogram pails, and then we'd look for somebody who was building. And we would empty them there. Don't tell anybody. Okay. But anyway, but we made it work. But I didn't focus on that. People said, oh, my God, how did you do that for 15 months? Well, I had a lake. I bathed in it. It got a little chilly in November, but you make it do. And I took a shower once a week when I went into Mooresville at a friend's house. Ooh, that shower felt so good when you don't get it every day. Okay. But you look at the bright side. There is always 2 sides of the coin. There always is. So I focused on the lake. I had the view. I didn't have a house. I didn't have a bathroom. I didn't have running water. I had one of the best views on the lake. That's what I focused on. So I had an attitude of gratitude while I'm going through what most people would say is hell. It was, to me, an inconvenience. It's perspective. It is how you look at it. I didn't feel victimized. I was. I mean, it was my fault. I trusted him. But so I don't blame. You know, when you blame someone, what you do is you give away your power. When you take responsibility, I screwed up. If you take responsibility for it, then you have the ball in your hands and you can score points. But if you blame someone, when you blame, it's the worst thing you can do. You're giving somebody else all your power and you're dependent on them for your state of well-being. Does that make sense?
That makes absolute sense. So from a mind mastery perspective, we see where you were, where you've come. What about goal setting?
It's not enough.
Did you goal set? Okay.
I'm not against goal setting, just like I'm not against AI, but it's how you use it. Goal setting is not enough. Those are the seeds of reality that we plant. But if you plant a seed, you got to water it, you got to nurture it. So every day I would walk. There's a causeway right by my house. I'm on a 3-mile island. I would walk, and it was a combination of prayer and visualization. You see, the subconscious, remember, the subconscious is 1,000,000 times more powerful. If you don't engage it, then don't come complaining to me. Then it won't work. But when I would walk the causeway every day, I would visualize the house being done, that there would be a way, whatever. And so you got to understand, the subconscious is like a young child. Words are too abstract. Goals are too abstract. They're the first step, but it's not enough. You got to make it more concrete. Kids don't get off on Webster's dictionary. They like picture storybooks because it's more concrete. So what you have to do with your goals, you got to visualize and use mental imagery. And then when you're using mental imagery and visualization, first of all, you've got to see what you want. You only see it in the positive. If you think about what you don't want, you're screwing yourself up. If you say, don't eat donuts, what do you have in your mind? The subconscious only gets donuts. It only gets the general message. The subconscious does not separate the do from the do nots. So you only visualize moving forward. You see it as though it has already happened. If you see it in the future, you will die before it happens. You must see it as though the work has been done. And then you have to be grateful for the change, because God, the universe, whatever your belief, only continues to give to those who are grateful for the change. So it's the attitude of gratitude. I was grateful for what I had. I did not have a flushing toilet, but I had a pail. I could afford a $1 pail, and I had the view. That's what I focused on. And you know what? When you have the attitude of gratitude, you raise your vibration, and the universe, the laws of attraction start working, and you draw into your sphere what you're longing for and what you want to desire. And then, you know what it is? And that is why I'm into the dopamine addiction that is creating a block to creative thinking. As long as we have creative problem solving, and I am one, because I got out of this mess, it was creative problem solving. Mm-hmm. Took me 15 months, but guess how? And anybody that lives in this area knows Lake Norman is not cheap. How do you think I made this happen? I didn't have a dime. I had a debt. I didn't have a dime. How do you think I made it happen? Well, my son's friend had a perfect credit score. I made him the CFO of my LLC. And what we did is within 24 hours, we applied for dozens of business credit cards. Because if one bank knows you're applying at another one, they'll shut you down. So we did it lickety-split. And I got hundreds of thousands of dollars on credit. I bought a place on Lake Norman on credit cards. And you know what? Listen to the rest of the story. Listen to this.
Yes.
Guess what? Before the interest was due, I got a HELOC. And everything changed.
All mental. This is all like the planning.
The belief system. Nothing changes. Your thoughts don't change until you have to have that hope, because that's what generates the motivation and the belief that you can do it, that you too are unstoppable. Now, if you have doubt, it's like a cancer. It'll grow. It'll grow and it'll block. It'll block you every time. So it just has to be, and you have to be patient. Do I wish it could have happened sooner than 15 months? But the problem is most people give up too soon.
So your book So in your book, so what's the recommendation? So in what order, because we've heard dopamine, we've heard mind master. What order would you suggest people read your books? Give us the name of your book and the order to read
You know
them.
what? Why Cats Don't Bark is good because it's almost like a workbook. There's like pause for reflections,
Mhm.
and it's really getting in touch with your soul's code and your calling in life. And then winning, how winners think what champions do. I have interviews from Oprah Winfrey in there, Rosa Parks. Some of them I interviewed in person, but people who came from nothing. Look at Oprah. She had a dirt
I know.
floor, but you know what? We reveal our calling in life between the ages of 3 and 9. And when Oprah was 5 years old, she looked at a TV screen and you know what she said? I can do that. And that's what you have to do. You have to have, what did she have? A dirt floor and she thinks she's going to be a star? But she said, so that's to thine own self be true. Know who you are. It's not about image. You don't have to pay a bunch of money for clothes that have a tag on it.
I get you.
It's identity. Who are you?
So
and what
then-
do you want?
So Edie, so your website, what's the name? What's the website we want people to be able to find
You
out
know
more
what?
about you?
The speaking site is my main site. That's edierather.com. It's just my
Okay.
name, Edie.
Okay, well, we love having you on the show.
Is it over?
Edie, yes, it is. So if
I thought we had another couple to say.
I love it. If you or your healthcare provider has been looking for a quality compounding pharmacy in the Lake Norman area, look no more. Rose Pharmacy is the place for you, where quality shows in every aspect of what we do. And if you're taking too many medications, supplements, or both, make sure you take advantage of our consultation services. We can help you safely solve that issue. And Edie is wanting to say one more thing. She's grabbing at me.
I got to.
Okay,
There's two
say it.
questions
Yep.
I ask people. One is, what would you be doing if you knew you couldn't fail? Get rid of the fear. Number 2 is, what is the difference between you and Oprah Winfrey and you and Albert Einstein? And it's just one thing. It is how you think. And that's a choice.
Love that. Love that, Edie. Love it. My question for you is, if someone asks you, how's your gut doing? What would be your answer? Are you suffering from inflammation, chronic bowel issues, bloating, feeling sluggish? Remember that everything begins and ends with a healthy gut. Make sure you take advantage of one of Rose Pharmacy's gut bundles, and we can tailor it specifically to meet your needs, because our goal is to help you get and stay on track with a much better quality of life. Thank you to all who have tuned into this week's segment of The Elle Show. Huge thank you to Miss Edie Raether. I'm your host, Dr. Nicole Eastman. And remember to block off that 3 to 4 p.m. time slot every Friday for The Elle Show, because I want this to be our happy hour where we are wrapping up a very busy week together on an uplifting note. Thanks again to my listeners and viewers. See you next week. Have a safe and fun weekend.